Have you ever found yourself listening to your grandfather's critiques, claiming that his generation was superior, despite the fact that it witnessed 2 world wars, contributed to the escalation of global warming, and grappled with overpopulation? While one may attach a few asterisks to his assertions, especially concerning societal issues, it's hard to dispute that past generations of the ultra-wealthy lived in grander opulence compared to today's multi-billionaires. Notably, these historical magnates often surpassed the wealth of contemporary figures like Chinggis Khan, whose riches exceeded a staggering 100 trillion. In this context, figures like Elon Musk might seem akin to a Tashkent street rat, merely begging for sustenance in comparison. Acknowledging the undeniable opulence of the ultra-wealthy from yesteryears, this video unfolds as part 2 of a series exploring the richest people in history. Cornelius Vanderbilt. Cornelius Vanderbilt, despite being branded as an illiterate and temperamental brute, emerged as one of the most prominent business figures in history. Often hailed as America's first tycoon, Vanderbilt's seemingly brutish demeanor finds its roots in his humble beginnings. Born into a family that arrived in America as servants, Vanderbilt's journey from nothing to prominence was a testament to his own hard work and astute investment acumen. Facing the challenges of illiteracy, Vanderbilt dropped out of school at the age of 11 to dedicate himself fully to his father's farm. By the time he turned 16, he boldly ventured into entrepreneurship, establishing his own ferry business between Staten Island and Manhattan. Unsurprisingly, a person with Vanderbilt's background faced skepticism and resistance from the elite, given his inability to write. The absence of a formal education, a constant reminder of the sacrifices he made, lingered at the edge of Vanderbilt's pride. Nevertheless, he persevered, ultimately becoming the wealthiest person in the world at that time, amassing a personal fortune of $185 billion. Vanderbilt's success, notably as a railroad monopolist and controller of all Hudson River traffic, played a pivotal role in shaping New York into the world's largest commercial hub. For those contemplating the value of education, Vanderbilt's story serves as a nuanced reminder. While education might enhance acceptance among the elite, Vanderbilt's remarkable journey underscores that personal fortune and strategic prowess can open doors even wider, turning illiteracy into a footnote in the narrative of success. In the latter part of the 19th century, it becomes evident that Vanderbilt wasn't the most agreeable figure in business dealings. Frequently engaging in speculation and borderline illegal activities, he acquired the moniker the Robber Baron. Despite these flaws, Cornelius Vanderbilt's primary identity was that of a builder. His notable contributions include the construction of the Grand Central Depot in New York and the substantial sponsorship of the Central University in Nashville, amounting to over $1 million, an equivalent of more than $70 million in today's currency. Towards the end of his life, Vanderbilt amassed land valued at over $100 million, securing his status as the wealthiest man globally for a significant period. While initially hailed as the richest man in history, subsequent estimates have placed him as the 15th wealthiest individual in historical context. Muammar Gaddafi. Embracing a life beyond the boundaries of the law and exuding a perpetual aura reminiscent of a fizzy concoction of soda and Mentos, this description might easily befit any classic rock superstar. However, the subject in question is not a musician, but a former world leader, Muammar Gaddafi. Before his grisly demise following the Arab Spring and the subsequent Libyan civil war, Gaddafi, the Libyan dictator, held sway over the North African country for over 42 years with an iron grip. His first order of business involved appropriating the country's immense oil reserves for personal gain, catapulting his net worth to over $200 billion. Oil, however, wasn't the sole source of his considerable fortune. Gaddafi's connections extended to the slave trade, drug trade, and terrorism, making him a figure unsuitable for admiration. Despite his controversial pursuits, the charismatic leader had a penchant for spending money with flair. Considering himself a fashion icon, Gaddafi frequently changed clothes, sometimes multiple times a day. While he may have earned that distinction in his youth, by the 1990s, he bore a resemblance to an AliExpress version of Lenny Kravitz. Regardless, all his attire boasted opulent materials: silk, cashmere, and threads of gold. His wardrobe alone commanded a price tag exceeding several $1,000,000, yet this expenditure pales in comparison to his personal tent, a constant companion on his travels abroad. While one might assume he simply enjoyed camping, the primary motive behind bringing his own abode was security. This tent, fortified against bullets, served as Gaddafi's refuge, as he couldn't rely on hotels to guarantee his safety, especially with the CIA, MI6, and SAS in pursuit. Affectionately known as the Mad Dog of the East in the West, Gaddafi owned 3 opulent residences, each adorned with lavish silk, gold, and silver. Complementing these were 3 private jets, collectively valued at nearly $200 million, an extensive fleet of cars, and an abundance of jewelry. However, what truly astonished the world was his decision to hire Beyoncé for a private event. Queen Bey graced the stage alongside Mariah Carey, Lionel Richie, and Usher. One can't help but wonder if Gaddafi ever employed Mariah's "All I Want for Christmas" as a form of interrogation torture. Henry Ford. Henry Ford, despite his problematic anti-Jewish sentiments and his peculiar admiration for a certain German dictator known for his hatred toward Jewish people, exhibited aspects that weren't entirely negative. As a genius entrepreneur, Ford played a pivotal role in propelling the American economy into its golden age. One of his notable contributions was championing the concept of a 5-day, 40-hour work week. While Ford's motivations might not have been purely altruistic, there's ongoing debate on whether he possessed a heart or if he had a Model T engine inside his chest. He supported the workers' demands for 2 primary reasons. Firstly, it was a strategic move to quell any notions of socialism in America. And secondly, it was a means to amass considerable wealth. His plan was simple. By providing workers with a whole new free day, he created an entirely new market for his cars. By the time of his passing, Henry Ford had accumulated nearly $250 billion, in addition to numerous factories and investments. Ford also knew how to enjoy his success, acquiring a 55-room mansion and 1,400 acres of land at a cost exceeding $3 million, equivalent to more than $76 million today. Another one of his properties recently on the market is listed at a staggering $175 million. Beyond his real estate ventures, Ford, much like modern billionaires, possessed dozens of cars and an array of luxury items. It leaves one to wonder if Ford was the original embodiment of the billionaire stereotype. Andrew Carnegie. If the presence of 2 extravagant mansions in the heart of Manhattan doesn't exclaim "filthy rich," I'm at a loss for a more fitting introduction to Andrew Carnegie. The steel tycoon, armed with his staggering $372 billion fortune, epitomized the art of living large in an era where opulent estates and textiles were among the few indulgences available. Carnegie embraced the spirit of his time, acquiring lavishly adorned houses that bordered on palatial. The first among them was the exquisite Carnegie Mansion, still standing proudly on Fifth Avenue today. It distinguished itself as one of the world's pioneering residences with a steel frame, central heating, and a private elevator, an amenity comparable to possessing a space shuttle in today's terms. Adjacent to the Carnegie Mansion was the second house, slightly smaller, and crafted for Carnegie's daughter. With his Scottish heritage deeply ingrained, Carnegie felt a magnetic pull towards his homeland. So what's the logical choice when you have boundless wealth and a desire for a residence in your native land? Buy a castle, of course. Carnegie spared no expense in acquiring a historically significant, opulent castle in Scotland. He willingly parted with a colossal sum of £3 million, equivalent to roughly £500 million or $600 million in today's currency, for this cultural landmark and its surrounding grounds. Yet, this was merely the starting point. According to historical records, he allocated an additional approximately £1 billion in today's currency for renovations. Notably, he introduced some groundbreaking features for the time, such as a private indoor swimming pavilion and a personal golf course. While these might seem commonplace today, in the early 20th century, having an indoor swimming pool and a private golf course was akin to possessing a private Olympic stadium and hosting the Olympic Games. Given the exorbitant costs associated with recent Olympic events, it's evident that Carnegie, unlike many others in this list and those covered in Part 1, could genuinely have afforded to host such grand spectacles. What sets Carnegie apart is his philanthropic spirit, a rarity among multi-billionaires of the early 20th century. The Scottish-American steel tycoon established himself as one of the most significant philanthropists in history. By the end of his life, he had generously donated more than 90% of his wealth to various charities, a remarkable power move that saw him give away over $350 billion while still retaining the title of the richest man alive. Jakob Fugger. The year 1459 marked a relatively favorable period, considering the tumultuous nature of the 15th century. While minor wars and the notable War of the Roses occurred, major plague outbreaks were absent. This year gained additional significance with the birth of Jakob Fugger, who would go on to become the wealthiest man in the world and a highly influential figure in European history. Jakob had the advantage of a promising start in life, uncommon for individuals of his time. Initiating his first business at the tender age of 12, he displayed entrepreneurial prowess, amassing a fortune that eventually exceeded $400 billion. Although he enjoyed a lavish lifestyle, Fuger predominantly employed his wealth to wield political influence. Testaments suggest that during his youth, he was responsible for a staggering 2% of Europe's entire GDP, a testament to his unwavering work ethic. Fuger's brilliance was complemented by his dedication to philanthropy. Despite his desire for influence in the church, he disguised it with charitable acts. He invested millions in constructing cathedrals, monasteries, chapels, and churches. In an era when churches were revered for their modesty and lack of corruption, Fuger's contributions were particularly notable. When the Pope appointed Carlo I, later crowned as Charles V, as the Holy Roman Emperor, Fuger's support for his candidacy came as no surprise. Fuger's influence was evident as the low-born German achieved nobility, further convincing the Pope to permit interest on loans, an area previously dominated by Jews up to that point. Given that the Catholic faith deemed it sinful to lend money for profit, a savvy banker like Fuger took strategic steps. Investing millions in the construction of numerous churches, he subsequently persuaded the Pope to permit interest on loans. Fuger played a pivotal role in financing the Habsburgs, contributing to their ascension to power. This prominent dynasty, which ruled over Central and Eastern Europe for 3 centuries and played a key role in the First World War, owed part of its success to Fuger's financial support. Beyond his political involvement, Jakob Fugger had a keen interest in exploration, financing, and participating in the inaugural German expedition to India. Despite facing widespread animosity, Fuger enjoyed a luxurious lifestyle in the 15th century, residing in a magnificent castle in Augsburg, still open for visitation today. Despite being disliked by many, Fuger was recognized as a brilliant figure, often hailed as the father of modern banking. Having contributed to an astounding 2% of Europe's GDP, his influence extended far beyond financial realms. Share your thoughts on what percentage of Europe's GDP you contributed to at the age of 12 in the comments below. For more insights into the wealth of brilliant entrepreneurs, check our Luxspensive channel.